The warship drifted silently through the void, its sleek metallic hull reflecting the faint light of a distant star. Inside, the air buzzed with tension as Captain Elias Varn stood before the council chamber's massive observation window. Beyond the reinforced glass stretched an alien landscape unlike anything human eyes had ever witnessed. Towers of iridescent crystal pierced through layers of swirling violet clouds, while rivers of liquid light carved paths across the planet's surface. Elias adjusted his uniform, feeling the familiar weight of responsibility pressing against his chest. This mission represented humanity's first direct contact with the Silthari Alliance, a coalition of advanced species that had long regarded Earth as little more than a primitive backwater. The diplomatic delegation had been carefully selected, each member representing the pinnacle of human achievement in science, culture, and diplomacy. Yet despite their preparations, nothing could have prepared them for what awaited on the planet below. The transmission from the Silthari had arrived 3 weeks ago, its content both astonishing and unsettling. They demanded an immediate audience with human representatives, citing urgent matters concerning the fate of Earth itself. The message carried an unmistakable tone of authority, one that left no room for refusal. As Elias processed these thoughts, his fingers unconsciously traced the scar running along his jawline, a reminder of another first contact gone terribly wrong years ago. In the reflection of the observation window, he caught sight of Dr. Miriam Choi adjusting her environmental suit. The xenobiologist's presence was crucial. Her groundbreaking work on interspecies communication had earned humanity this unprecedented opportunity. Beside her, Ambassador Cole meticulously reviewed his notes, though his practiced calm couldn't mask the nervous twitch at the corner of his eye. Each member of the team carried their own burdens, their own hopes and fears about what lay ahead. As the ship began its descent through the planet's atmosphere, strange energy discharges danced across the viewports, painting the interior with shifting hues of green and gold. The craft shuddered slightly, responding to gravitational forces unlike any in human experience. Elias felt his stomach lurch but maintained his composure, knowing that every movement, every expression, would be scrutinized by their hosts. Through the thickening atmospheric haze, the details of the alien city emerged. Massive structures of living metal pulsed with inner light, their surfaces flowing like liquid even as they maintained impossible architectural forms. Towering spires intertwined with organic growths that seemed to breathe in rhythm with the planet itself. Between these monolithic buildings, smaller forms darted, creatures whose biology defied conventional understanding, their movements suggesting intelligence far beyond human capabilities. As they approached the designated landing platform, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Perhaps it was the way the air seemed to hum with anticipation, or how the alien constructs seemed to shift subtly whenever his gaze lingered too long. Whatever the reason, the sensation sent a chill down his spine that no amount of preparation could have prevented. The moment the shuttle doors hissed open, a wave of unfamiliar sensations assaulted their senses. The air carried a metallic tang mixed with something sweetly floral, while the ground beneath their boots felt simultaneously solid and alive, pulsing gently with each step. Before them rose a procession of alien dignitaries, their forms ranging from crystalline beings that refracted light into rainbows, to amorphous entities that flowed rather than walked. At the center of this gathering stood she who commanded their attention, the Silthari Queen. Her presence dominated the space not through physical size, but through an aura of power that seemed to warp reality itself. Her form defied conventional symmetry. Multiple limbs of varying lengths extended from a central mass that shifted between solid and translucent states. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed across her skin in complex rhythms, while clusters of sensory organs protruded at seemingly random angles. What humans might interpret as facial features arranged themselves in configurations that changed constantly, never settling into anything recognizable. Around her, the assembled aliens maintained respectful distances, their body language speaking volumes about their reverence and perhaps fear. Some bowed low, others kept their gazes respectfully averted, while a few trembled visibly in her presence. The Queen's movements possessed an unnatural fluidity, as if gravity itself bent to accommodate her will. When she spoke, sound didn't merely emerge, it manifested as physical waves that rippled through the very air, causing instruments to fluctuate wildly despite extensive shielding. Her voice, when it came, transcended simple auditory experience. It resonated through bone and sinew, carrying undertones that triggered primal responses deep within the human psyche. Each word seemed to occupy multiple frequencies simultaneously, creating harmonics that made translation devices struggle to keep pace. The effect was mesmerizing yet deeply unsettling, leaving the human delegation momentarily paralyzed by its sheer alien nature. As the initial greetings concluded, the Queen turned her full attention upon the humans. Her primary sensory cluster focused on them with intensity that felt almost tangible, studying each face in turn before lingering on Elias. In that moment, he understood why so many species found her terrifying, not because of her appearance, but because of the overwhelming presence that seemed to strip away all pretense and leave one exposed to their core. Protocol dictated that formal introductions proceed according to strict hierarchical order, but the Queen disrupted this carefully planned sequence with a single gesture. Her largest appendage extended toward Elias, terminating in a cluster of delicate filaments that shimmered with internal light. The movement sent ripples through the gathered assembly, causing several alien diplomats to gasp audibly. Against every instinct screaming caution, Elias stepped forward, meeting her gaze without flinching. The Queen's response was immediate and unexpected. Her entire form seemed to tense, bioluminescent patterns flashing in rapid succession, a display that their xenobiologists had identified as agitation. Around them, the assembled aliens reacted with visible shock, some retreating several steps while others exchanged alarmed glances. Through his translator, Elias caught fragments of whispered conversations, phrases that roughly translated to unacceptable and protocol violation. Yet he remained rooted in place, held by the intensity of the Queen's attention. When she finally spoke directly to him, bypassing the formal diplomatic channels entirely, her words carried additional layers of meaning that transcended simple translation. She addressed him not as a representative of humanity, but as an individual entity worthy of personal interaction. The implications of this breach of protocol rippled through the chamber, causing several lesser dignitaries to withdraw completely. Her interest in him appeared genuine, almost curious, as if she recognized something in him that others had missed. This unprecedented focus created a complex dynamic within the human delegation itself. Dr. Choi's scientific curiosity battled with her professional detachment, while Ambassador Cole struggled to maintain his diplomatic composure in the face of such blatant disregard for established procedures. The Queen's behavior challenged everything they thought they knew about Silthery's social hierarchy and diplomatic protocols, forcing them to adapt rapidly to an entirely new set of rules that seemed to apply exclusively to Elias's interactions with her. As days stretched into weeks, Elias found himself increasingly drawn into the Queen's orbit. Their meetings, initially formal and controlled, evolved into something more intimate and complex. She would summon him at irregular intervals, sometimes during what humans considered the dead of night, demanding his presence in chambers that defied conventional architecture. These spaces seemed to reshape themselves around them, walls flowing like liquid metal to create environments that responded to their interactions. During these encounters, the Queen revealed aspects of herself that contradicted everything the humans had been told about her nature. Beneath the imposing exterior lay a being of profound sensitivity, capable of perceiving emotions through subtle quantum fluctuations in the air. She explained how her form, optimized for survival in conditions lethal to most species, had become a barrier between herself and others. Her constant state of biological flux, necessary for maintaining equilibrium in her environment, had led many to misinterpret her natural state as monstrous or threatening. Elias discovered that her apparent agitations during their meetings weren't signs of anger, but rather manifestations of intense emotional processing. The bioluminescent patterns that had initially seemed chaotic actually communicated complex states of being. Flashes of indigo indicating curiosity, golden pulses signifying recognition, and rare bursts of silver suggesting something akin to affection. Through careful observation, he learned to read these signals, developing a rudimentary understanding of her nonverbal language. Their communications transcended mere words, evolving into a dance of mutual discovery. She would extend her sensory appendages toward him, allowing him to touch the delicate filaments that served as her primary interface with the world. These moments of physical connection carried profound significance, as she risked exposing her most vulnerable sensory organs to potential harm. In return, Elias shared aspects of human culture through carefully curated sensory experiences. Music that resonated through the chamber walls, visual art projected onto responsive surfaces, and carefully prepared samples of Earth's natural scents. Yet these interactions carried their own dangers. Other members of the Silthery court viewed their growing relationship with increasing alarm. Whispers of conspiracy filled the corridors, while subtle attempts to sabotage their meetings became more frequent. Security systems would mysteriously malfunction during their encounters, and hostile entities would appear at the edges of their meeting spaces, testing the limits of the Queen's protection. Despite these challenges, their connection deepened, becoming something neither fully human nor fully silthery, but rather a unique fusion of understanding that transcended both cultures. One evening, during what should have been a routine diplomatic session, the Queen summoned Elias alone to a chamber unlike any he'd seen before. The walls pulsed with a gentle, rhythmic light, creating an environment that felt almost womb-like in its intimacy. Instead of taking her usual position of dominance, she positioned herself at his level, her massive form somehow appearing more approachable, more vulnerable. The air between them seemed charged with expectation, heavy with unspoken possibilities. She began communicating through a series of complex gestures and color shifts that their translators struggled to interpret. Yet Elias felt the meaning resonate deep within him, bypassing linguistic barriers entirely. She was sharing something profoundly personal. Memories of her ascension to the throne, the isolation that came with her position, and the countless times her appearance had been used as a weapon against her. The images flooded his mind. Centuries of diplomatic encounters where her counterparts had recoiled in horror, negotiations cut short by her mere presence, alliances shattered by species unable to look beyond her exterior. As these revelations unfolded, Elias found himself overwhelmed by a surge of empathy that transcended cultural boundaries. Without conscious thought, he reached out, his hand trembling as it approached one of her sensory clusters. The room fell silent except for the soft hum of their shared breath. His fingers brushed against the delicate filaments, and in that moment of contact, something remarkable occurred. The Queen froze, her entire form going rigid as if struck by an electrical current. Her bioluminescent patterns erupted in a cascade of colors so intense they illuminated every corner of the chamber. Time seemed to stand still as they remained locked in this unprecedented moment of connection. The Queen's reaction wasn't one of aggression or withdrawal, but of complete stillness, a state that, given her usual fluidity, spoke volumes about the significance of what had just transpired. Around them, the chamber's ambient lighting dimmed automatically, as if recognizing the importance of this private exchange. Elias felt his heart pounding against his ribcage, each beat echoing through the silence that had settled over the space. The significance of his action rippled outward, affecting not just their immediate connection but the entire diplomatic mission. Monitoring stations throughout the facility registered unprecedented fluctuations in quantum fields, while security protocols initiated automatic lockdown procedures. From the shadows emerged figures, both alien and human, who had been observing their interaction through various means. Some looked on with expressions of horror, others with fascination, and a few with something approaching hope. The delicate balance of power within the Silthery court had shifted in ways that would take months to fully comprehend. Yet amid this chaos of reaction and consequence, the Queen remained motionless, her attention fixed solely on Elias. Her normally restless form stayed perfectly still, as if afraid that any movement might break the fragile thread of understanding that had formed between them. The moment stretched onward, neither of them willing to be the first to retreat from this unprecedented bridge they had crossed together. Their connection, born of vulnerability and courage, had opened a door to possibilities that neither had dared to imagine possible. In the days following their transformative encounter, the atmosphere aboard the diplomatic station underwent a dramatic shift. The Queen's court divided into factions, some viewing the incident as a dangerous precedent, while others saw it as a potential breakthrough in interspecies relations. Among the human delegation, tensions ran high as they grappled with the implications of Elias's actions. Dr. Choi immersed herself in analyzing the quantum field disturbances recorded during their encounter, while Ambassador Cole worked tirelessly to mitigate potential diplomatic fallout. The Queen herself retreated into seclusion, emerging only for essential functions of state. When she did appear, her behavior had altered noticeably. The constant flow of her form had slowed, her movements now carrying a deliberateness that suggested deep contemplation. During their subsequent meetings, she began experimenting with different configurations of her sensory clusters, as if trying to understand which aspects of her appearance might be perceived differently. These changes, subtle though they were, sent shockwaves through the Silthery hierarchy. Other species within the alliance began re-evaluating their positions regarding human diplomatic relations. Several previously hostile factions showed increased interest in cultural exchange programs, while others doubled down on their resistance to change. The incident had inadvertently created a schism within the alliance itself, with debates raging about the nature of beauty, acceptance, and the value of transcending preconceived notions. Through it all, Elias found himself at the center of a storm that threatened to reshape intergalactic politics in ways no one could have predicted. Their final meeting took place in a chamber that seemed to exist outside normal space-time constraints. The Queen's form had undergone subtle alterations, her bioluminescent patterns now incorporating elements reminiscent of Earth's auroras. As Elias approached, she extended multiple sensory clusters simultaneously, creating a complex web of connection points. The air between them vibrated with possibilities, each moment pregnant with the potential to redefine their species' relationship forever. Instead of their usual cautious dance of communication, the Queen initiated a direct neural interface, a level of intimacy unprecedented in silthery human relations. Through this connection, Elias experienced fragments of her consciousness. Memories of ancient civilizations, impressions of cosmic events spanning millennia, and most profoundly, her understanding of beauty as a concept that transcended physical form. He saw how her people's perception of aesthetics had evolved alongside their technological advancements, leading to a society where efficiency often overshadowed emotional resonance. The revelation triggered a cascade of realizations about human prejudices and how they mirrored those of other species. Through the Queen's perspective, he witnessed countless instances where superficial judgments had derailed potentially beneficial alliances. Yet amidst these sobering insights, there emerged a glimmer of something revolutionary. The possibility that their connection could serve as a catalyst for broader understanding across species boundaries. As their neural link deepened, the chamber's environment responded by generating representations of their shared experiences. Abstract forms coalesced into shapes that combined elements of both human and silthery aesthetics, creating something entirely new. These manifestations pulsed with meaning, suggesting a path forward that neither had anticipated but both now recognized as inevitable. The Queen's previous stillness transformed into a state of vibrant anticipation, her form oscillating between familiar configurations and entirely novel arrangements. Their connection reached a critical threshold, triggering alarms throughout the facility as energy readings spiked beyond measurable parameters. Security protocols initiated automatic containment procedures, but the Queen's presence overrode these systems with a casual wave of her largest appendage. The significance of this act wasn't lost on Elias. She was deliberately choosing to prioritize their interaction over established safety measures, demonstrating a level of trust that carried profound implications for future relations. Through the chaos of escalating energy fields and system failures, their shared consciousness continued to expand, incorporating elements of both their realities. The Queen began transmitting concepts that defied traditional diplomatic frameworks, proposing new paradigms for interspecies cooperation that centered around mutual vulnerability rather than displays of strength. These ideas, radical though they were, resonated with something fundamental in Elias's human experience. The understanding that true connections require risking exposure, stepping beyond comfort zones into unknown territory. Just as the connection between Elias and the Queen reached its peak, a sudden intrusion shattered the delicate balance. A coalition of high-ranking silthery officials, led by a towering crystalline entity known as Vorthal, materialized at the edge of the chamber. Their arrival was not subtle. They forced their way through the energy barriers with an aggressive display of power that sent shockwaves rippling across the room. The Queen's form immediately contracted, her bioluminescent patterns shifting to a deep crimson, a signal Elias now recognized as both warning and distress. Vorthal's voice cut through the air like shards of glass, each syllable carrying an undercurrent of disdain. "You disgrace us," he seethed, his crystalline body refracting light into jagged beams that danced menacingly around the chamber. "This human filth has corrupted you. You abandon centuries of tradition for what? For this fragile creature who cannot even comprehend the true nature of our existence." The Queen's response was immediate but measured. Her sensory clusters retracted slightly, yet her core remained steady, pulsing with defiant resolve. Through their still active neural link, Elias felt her internal conflict, a storm of pride, vulnerability, and anger. She did not speak right away, instead allowing her bioluminescent patterns to shift into complex sequences that seemed to argue back on her behalf. To Elias's astonishment, these patterns began to resonate with the very fabric of the chamber itself, causing the walls to shimmer and shift in response. But Vorthal wasn't alone in his condemnation. From the shadows emerged representatives of other species within the Alliance, beings whose forms ranged from serpentine to amorphous, all united in their disapproval. They circled the chamber like vultures, their collective presence creating an oppressive weight that pressed down on Elias's chest. One particularly unsettling figure, a gelatinous mass with countless eyes embedded in its surface, spoke in a voice that sounded like water dripping into an abyss. Your actions endanger the stability of the Alliance. This human has manipulated you, corrupted your judgment. He is not worthy of your attention. Elias wanted to defend himself, to explain that his words had come from a place of genuine admiration rather than manipulation, but something held him back. Not fear, it was more profound than that. Through the neural link, he sensed the Queen grappling with a decision that could alter everything. If she defended him now, it would mean openly defying not just Vorthal but the entire structure of Silthari society. Yet if she turned away, the trust they had built would shatter irreparably. Then came the twist neither of them expected. Ambassador Cole stepped forward, his usually composed demeanor replaced by a fiery determination Elias had never seen before. Enough! Cole's voice rang out, startling everyone, including Elias. You accuse Captain Varn of manipulation, yet it is you who manipulate reality to suit your prejudices. Tell me, Vorthal, when was the last time any of you looked beyond your own reflections? When did you stop fearing what you do not understand? Cole's outburst ignited chaos. Some of the gathered aliens recoiled in outrage, while others whispered among themselves, clearly unsettled by his boldness. Vorthal's crystalline form darkened, absorbing the ambient light as though preparing to strike. But before he could retaliate, the Queen acted. With a surge of energy that made the ground tremble, she expanded her form again, this time enveloping both Elias and Cole within a protective cocoon of living metal and light. Her voice, when it came, was no longer the melodic resonance Elias had grown accustomed to. It was raw, primal, and filled with authority. You dare question my sovereignty, she demanded, her words reverberating through every molecule in the chamber. I am the Queen of the Silthari, chosen by the stars themselves. My decisions are my own, and I will not tolerate insubordination from those who cling to outdated dogma. For a moment, it seemed as though the confrontation might escalate into violence. Vorthal raised one crystalline limb, its tip glowing with lethal energy, while the gelatinous ambassador bubbled ominously. But then another figure entered the fray, one none of them had anticipated. Dr. Choi appeared at the threshold of the chamber, flanked by several members of the human delegation. In her hands, she held a device that pulsed with an otherworldly glow. Stop, Choi commanded, her voice calm but firm. If you harm the Queen or anyone here, you'll have to answer to the consequences of this. She raised the device, which emitted a low hum that resonated unervingly with the chamber's energy field. We've been analyzing the quantum fluctuations during your meetings, she explained, addressing the Queen directly. This device amplifies those fluctuations. If triggered, it could destabilize the entire station, and potentially the planet below. A collective gasp rippled through the assembled aliens. Even Vorthal hesitated, his crystalline form flickering uncertainly. The Queen, however, reacted differently. Instead of retreating further into her protective stance, she extended one of her sensory clusters toward Choi, inviting her closer. Through the neural link, Elias felt the Queen's curiosity mingling with gratitude, and perhaps even amusement. It was as though she had anticipated such a move but hadn't expected it to come from the unassuming xenobiologist. As tension simmered, a new player emerged, a holographic projection of an ancient Silthari elder, long thought to be dormant. The apparition spoke in a language so archaic that even the Queen stiffened in recognition. When translated, the message was clear: beware the path of division. History teaches us that unity arises only from embracing the unknown. Let not fear dictate your future. The elder's words hung heavy in the air, forcing everyone present to reconsider their positions. Vorthal lowered his weapon reluctantly, though his glare remained fixed on Elias. The gelatinous ambassador retreated slightly, its myriad eyes blinking in rapid succession, a sign of uncertainty. And the Queen? She withdrew her protective barrier, allowing Elias and Cole to step free while maintaining her imposing presence. But the twists weren't over yet. As the standoff de-escalated, a sudden transmission interrupted the proceedings. It came not from within the station but from deep space, an urgent message encoded in frequencies only the Queen's sensory clusters could interpret. Her form shifted erratically as she processed the information, her bioluminescent patterns flashing in alarm. Whatever the message contained, it was enough to make her turn to Elias with an expression he couldn't fully decipher, a mixture of urgency, sorrow, and resolve. Before she could act, the chamber's energy field surged violently, distorting reality itself. The walls dissolved once more, but this time not into the void of space. Instead, they revealed a vision of Earth, a dying Earth, ravaged by environmental collapse and interspecies warfare. The sight struck Elias like a physical blow, and through their neural link, he felt the Queen's anguish mirror his own. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the vision faded, leaving behind only silence, and the unmistakable sense that their choices were about to shape not just two species, but the fate of countless others scattered across the galaxy. The Queen broke the silence, her voice trembling yet resolute. Earth's fate is tied to ours now. The message came from beyond our stars, a warning of an impending cosmic event that threatens all life. Her sensory clusters extended toward Elias, glowing softly. Your world and mine must unite or perish separately. Vorthal stepped forward, his crystalline form dimming in submission. If this is true, then we have no choice, he admitted begrudgingly. The other species murmured in agreement, their earlier hostility replaced by grim determination. Elias felt the weight of the moment press down on him. Through their neural link, the Queen shared a plan, a risky alliance between humans and Silthari to harness their combined technologies and save both worlds. But it required trust, something neither side had fully given before. Dr. Choi activated her device again, this time not as a threat but as a beacon. Its hum synchronized with the station's energy field, creating a bridge of light that connected every being in the chamber. This proves we can work together, she said firmly. Ambassador Cole added, let this be the beginning, not of domination, but cooperation. The Queen turned to Elias one last time, her bioluminescent patterns shimmering with gratitude and resolve. You showed me beauty exists beyond form, she whispered through their link. Now show your people the same truth. With that, she initiated a massive energy surge, broadcasting the vision of Earth's plight and its potential salvation to every corner of the Alliance. Species once divided began responding, their ships converging around the station. As the first joint mission launched, Elias stood beside the Queen, watching humanity and alien kind work side by side for the first time. Tears welled in his eyes, not from fear but hope. In the end, it wasn't strength or power that saved them. It was vulnerability, the courage to reach out, to see beauty in the unfamiliar, and to embrace change. And so, under twin suns, two vastly different civilizations took their first steps toward a shared future, guided by the bond between a human man and an alien queen who dared to defy the boundaries of understanding.